this Michael story. So Michael Jackson's friend apparently did an interview, and he run around here saying that Michael confided in him that he was M-worded as a kid and thought that getting diddled with was normal. I wonder who did the diddling. Was it Joe? So an insider has well, he dead. He can't sue me. So an insider has claimed Michael Jackson revealed he was M-worded as a child, but normalized the experience as playtime. Jackson's legacy has fallen under renewed scrutiny in recent years because of the long-running allegations that he SA'd underage boys. Now, although he was acquitted of the claims in court in 2005, the accusations about the late King of Pop had persisted in the public square down for the decades, including in the 2019 HBO documentary Leaving Neverland, which sidebar, I don't know if y'all know this, but you can't even find that anywhere. Like it's not even on HBO anymore. It's vanished out of thin air. I don't know if this was pressure from the estate or whatever the case is, because when you powerful and money talks and you're John Branca and you protecting the brand, whether it's true or not, you can't find that documentary nowhere. Now they said they cropped up again this year. Is that even a term that cropped up? I think it meant they popped up. Anyway, we'll just use that. They popped up again this year in reaction to the smash success of the gushing new biopic Michael, which was backed by his estate, starts his nephew Jafar, and stops in 1988 before the explosive charges emerged about the sexual proclivities. Now, Emmy winning producer Jeffrey Mark has added another layer to the story, saying Jackson was himself the victim of the crime of which he stood accused. Well, a lot of times when you hear from people, they always say hurt people hurt people. So I don't know if there's real evidence of Michael diddling with children. He loved kids because of the innocence. I'm sure a lot of perverts be saying that too. I'm not saying Michael's a pervert. I'm just talking about pervert pedophiles in general. But a lot of times when people have sexually abused children, they too have been sexually abused. Look at R. Kelly. R. Kelly was diddled with as a child, and he went around fucking little girls. Aaliyah being one of them, and marrying her. And then remember the girl that came out that was Sparkle's niece that did an interview with I believe CBS. Was it 60 Minutes? I believe she did an interview with them. I believe it was earlier this year in January, did an interview and was finally decided to come out of the closet because she was trapped in it for so long with them accusations from, R. Kelly. She decided to come out of the closet with her tea on what happened and basically spilled all her stuff on the thing. I wish what I would have done is I remember I showed a clip, but I really wish we would have just as a class watch the whole interview. So Mark maintained that Jackson never told him the name of the alleged perpetrator of the tragedy that befell him, according to the New York Post. Well, here's the thing: it's like even if it wasn't allegedly Joe, he was a child around a lot of people in the industry, and there's a lot of freaks and a lot of perverts and a lot of abusers and stuff. Look, even I just heard recently Hayden Panettiere came out and told a story. Some Oscar winner at a party showed him her testicle. I mean, showed her his testicles. So you got all kinds of weird ass people in this industry that do all kinds of weird shit and things that happen. That's why I said this is not a business for kids. But I understand he wanted to get out of the land. What was it? The land mill business. He wanted to get out of working the job that he had. So he basically heard one of the sons, I think it was Tito, playing the guitar, and decided, you know what? Let's try to get all y'all together because he got this talent, and said we can conjure a band out of the situation and basically have y'all up in there practicing so that way we can get ourselves out of poverty. And I applaud Joe for doing all that. But all the extra shit that he did with the verbal and the physical abuse, it's unfortunate that the Jackson family had to endure that, but I guess those were the days. And I'm not sitting here making an excuse for the man, but those are the days of like you had to be real, I guess, real harsh so that way they could develop a thick skin. So now, according to Jeffrey Mark, he and Jackson shared close conversations at a string of Los Angeles parties in the late 90s and early 2000s, hosted by the late Dr. Arnold Arnie Klein, a top Hollywood dermatologist nicknamed the father of Botox. Now, Klein, who treated Jackson for the vitiligo that ultimately whitened his skin, hinted multiple times in public that he was the actual biological father of the Thriller singer's two elder children, Prince 29 and Paris 28. Well, I did see a picture of what Mr. Klein looked like. I'm gonna have to pull it up on my other page so that way y'all can see it. I'm like, I would not be surprised if there was a white man. Because look, no shade, but let's talk about it. When you got biracial up in you, you at least got a hint of blackness. You look at Tyreek Withers, you know he a white, and you know he got mixed race family members, but you see a little black up in them. Wentworth Miller, I would say, like, yeah, I mean, if you look at his hair texture, you see a little black up in there. That's why he kept that hair real short. But like when he grows out, I was like, yeah, we see a little go up in you. But you Ivy League, so you know they always try to do that pass. But you don't get none of that when you look at Prince and Paris. They look full on like they got two white parents. Blank is the only one that looked like he got a little racial ambiguity up in him. So they said in 2015, Prince responded to the rumors about his paternity that were circulating online by tweeting, "The blood of the covenant is thicker than the water." Okay, now we getting all religious. Is thicker than the water of the womb. I was raised by my dad with my brother and sister. By the time Mark and Jackson were meeting each other at Klein's parties, the claims about Jackson's supposed activities with underage boys were already public, saying he had reached a $20 million settlement in '94 with the family of a child called Jordy Chandler, whose father accused Jackson of M-wording his son. That was the story that was supposed to appear as the third part of the Michael movie, but because part of the deal was they could not use that stuff, they filmed it and everything. They didn't even dot the I's across all the T's of what they could talk about. They had to remove the whole thing and then start over. And then that basically what you got was a Bohemian Rhapsody retread. So the third act was just I'm going to perform solo by myself for 20 minutes, and then we're going to do the Jackson's Victory Tour as the closer. That basically was the last third act of the damn movie, a fucking concert. Similar to what they did over there, like I said, with Bohemian Rhapsody, where Rami Malek reenacted the Live Aid performance of Freddie Mercury. Now, they said years later in conversation with clients' parties, at his parties, Michael told me he experienced abuse as a kid. And this is what Jeffrey Mark maintained in his new interview. I was SA'd by my father and others who are also deceased in my family. Michael said that he was sexually abused. He didn't use those terms because I didn't think he didn't think of it as abuse or sex. It was playtime. Michael shared very broadly news that there was intergenerational touching and beyond. It's not like Michael said, "Oh, I was abused." That would never have crossed his mind. This is what Mark, who's 67, said. Jackson has been conditioned that this was normal and natural, said Mark, adding that it did happen a lot. It was part of his growing up and was normal. The revelation was apparently prompted by a dinner table conversation about fathers at one of the soirees Klein posted in or hosted in his mansion in Hancock Park. Jackson had publicly discussed being beaten with a belt by his father, Joe Jackson, who managed him and his siblings during their rise to stardom as the Jackson Five, but never came out with any allegations of SA by him. Meanwhile, his sister, Latoya, purported in her own memoir that Joe M-worded her, but she later retracted the claim, saying she had been inducted to include it by her allegedly abusive then husband, cum manager Jack Gordon. Now, Jeffrey Mark said that when the topic of fathers came up at the Arnie Klein dinner, I shared that I really couldn't chime in because my father had both sexually M-worded and physically tortured me, and Michael found that revelation to be strange. Mark added, he almost sort of cocked his head like a dog, like he was not understanding. It was something he thought was normal and natural and did not understand why, when it happened to me, I was upset by it. His own theory is that Jackson was not evil, but had lost his capacity to distinguish what was right and wrong because of the trauma of his own upbringing. And I was about to say that I think maybe what this all boils down to is the fact that maybe he would go to this place in his mind that was his safe space. So when you're trying to reciprocate or to bring forth the fact that, yeah, this is not normal, this is not okay, he probably knows this, but had just kind of shut his mind off. Hold on. Oh wait, I was supposed to have closed that. I want to show y'all this picture of this man who said that he is, the Jeffrey Mack dude, and who's supposed to be Prince and Paris' father. He kind of do favor them, so I do believe that yeah, that's your daddy. But I guess in this situation, just because you probably there's nothing but a sperm donor, but Here's your real pappy. So yeah, I'm gonna just leave that picture up there. So now, if I thought that Michael was evil or a predator, if I thought there was evil intent on his part, I probably wouldn't be talking about it. Michael, to the best of my knowledge, thought that he was entertaining children the way that he was entertained. Now, Mark will never go as far as to call Jackson a PDF file, noting he can only react to what I saw and heard. I was not in the room when Michael was with the children. Now, as y'all know, Jackson died at the age of 50 in 2009 from cardiac arrest he suffered after having the powerful anesthetic propofol administered as a sleep aid. His estate approved biopic Michael, helmed by Antoine Fuqua, was released last month and proved to be a roaring box office triumph, becoming the second highest grossing biopic of all time behind Bohemian Rhapsody. Well, look, it's still going. So it is behind Bohemian Rhapsody, but if it's able to surpass, we'll see in these coming weeks how well it does. But yeah, I feel like at this point, I mean, what can we say? Michael is not here to defend himself, so we don't know necessarily whether or not this is true. But um, as someone who is a Michael fan, I can totally understand like trying to lock out some of the things that happen to you because of the traumatic experience of going to this place that is your protective space, which is what a lot of people who are victims of abuse do. But I don't know. It's just this is just something heavy and complicated to even fathom. I mean, but at the end of the day, regardless of the fact of you saying this, Michael's been dead for almost 20 years. He's not here to defend himself in regards to this. So we just gonna have to take this with a grain of salt. So I'll say all this to say, what do you guys think of this story? Do you believe this story from Michael's friend who said that, yeah, he was abused as a kid? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised because, all these damn predators in the industry that be up in here doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And as I said before, people who have been abused as a child themselves, 9 times out of 10 will pass that down to other children and inflict that same abuse. We've seen it happen with R. Kelly. We've seen it happen with countless people who are abused or abusive or, who have been abused or can be abusive. So, yeah, I definitely want to hear from y'all. Let me know what your thoughts on this story in the comments down below.